Good morning, evening, or night, everybody. I'm Jext, and in this video, I'll be answering a simple question. Will there be a Splatoon 3 Direct? I'll be looking at the history of Splatoon and other Nintendo game-specific Directs to see if I can spot a pattern that might shed some light on an answer. Now, let's squid jump into this. For starters, Nintendo Directs weren't officially a thing until February 22nd, 2012, over 10 years ago. They are essentially a video presentation all about announcing, previewing, and teasing new Nintendo games, collaborations, products, and the like. Over the 10 years since the first Direct, they have reliably become a cornerstone of Nintendo's marketing strategy, and they regularly draw huge audiences built on the hype of seeing what the Big N has cooking up. In recent years, they've become a spectacle, garnering tens of thousands of viewers, spawning countless reaction videos, analyses, rankings, and infamously, fans begging, pleading, and whining about when the next Direct will be, games that weren't announced in one, and everything else you can imagine. But for our purposes today, they will be important for another reason. To see if we can discern a pattern between the date that a Direct airs and the launch of the game that a Direct covers. Before we get started, let's go over the types of Nintendo Directs and some other information first. As of the release of this video, there have been 71 Nintendo Directs as of Nintendo's official Nintendo Direct archive page on their website. I've broken down all of these Nintendo Directs into a few categories. There's your good old-fashioned, just plain old Nintendo Direct. There's a Nintendo Direct Mini, which is a shorter version. There's Nintendo Direct Partner Showcases. There's game-specific Directs, and there's also a few miscellaneous Direct presentations. In this video, I'll mainly be focusing on the game-specific Directs, obviously, with the odd miscellaneous presentation thrown in as well. Now, the first non-purely Nintendo Direct was a Pokemon Direct, centered around the history of Pokemon as a lead-up to the announcement of Pokemon X and Pokemon Y on January 8, 2013. However, only a small amount of information about X and Y was actually shown, and the game received a more in-depth Direct later on, so I won't be using this one for any calculations I make down the line. Now, before I get started on the big list, I just want to go over what I'll be covering with each Direct. I'll go over obviously what the game was that was featured, when the Direct about said game was aired, how long that Direct was, when the game itself was released, and finally the duration of time between the Direct and the game's launch. For simplicity and transparency's sake, I'll be using the North American release date for each of these games and the calculations that follow. Now, let's get to the Directs. The first truly game-specific Direct was actually a shock to me, as I didn't even remember seeing this game being that important. So the fact that it has its own Direct, let alone the first game-specific one, is kind of insane, and that is the Wii U's The Wonderful 101. The Direct for The Wonderful 101 took place on Friday, August 9th, 2013. It was roughly 20 minutes long. The game itself wasn't released until Sunday, September 15th, 2013, and the amount of time between the Direct and the release date of the game was a month and 6 days, or just about 5 weeks. The next Direct was the second Pokemon Direct, featuring Pokemon X and Y in their actual glory, not just an announcement, meaning that it actually featured gameplay and discussion of the games. This Direct aired on Wednesday, September 4th, 2013 for roughly 20 minutes as well. The games were subsequently released on Saturday, October 12th, 2013, and the gap between the Direct and the release date was 1 month and 8 days, or just over 5 weeks again. The third game-specific Direct was another lesser-known title, this being Wii Fit U. I can't believe Wii Fit U got its own Direct, but it did, and it aired on Wednesday, September 18th, 2013, again for about 20 minutes. With the game releasing on Friday, November 1st, 2013. That amounts to about a month and 14 days, or 6 weeks even, between the Direct and the release of the game. The next Direct is a bit different for reasons I'll explain, but it featured Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and 3DS. This Direct aired on Tuesday, April 8th, 2014 for just shy of 40 minutes. The games themselves did not release until Friday, October 3rd, 2014 for the Nintendo 3DS, and Friday, November 21st for the Wii U. Obviously, since this entry was kind of two separate games with two separate release dates, it kind of mucks up my calculations, but this is actually not the only Smash 4 Direct presentation, so we'll come back to this later. 2 days after that Smash 4 Direct was actually another game-specific Nintendo Direct, this time featuring the 3DS game Tomodachi Life. The Direct for Tomodachi Life aired on Thursday, April 10th, 2014, and it lasted just 11 minutes. The game then subsequently released on Friday, June 6, 2014. The duration between the Direct and the release for Tomodachi Life was just 1 month and 27 days, or just shy of 8 weeks. Shortly after Tomodachi Life's Direct, another banger of a Direct dropped, and that is Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8's Direct aired on Wednesday, April 30th, 2014, and it lasted for about 36 minutes. The game itself would release on Friday, May 30th, 2014, and the gap between the Direct and the release date for this game was just 1 month, or 30 days. Fast forward a bit, and the next game-specific Direct is actually another game for the Wii U, Hyrule Warriors. The Direct for Hyrule Warriors aired on Monday, August 4th for 2014 for 26 minutes. The game then released on Friday, September 26, 2014. The gap between the Direct and the release date of the game for Hyrule Warriors was 1 month and 22 days, or just over 7 weeks. Next up was a special Direct, I guess, of sorts for Smash 4, this being the 50 Facts Extravaganza. It took place on Thursday, October 23rd, 2014, featuring 50 facts about Smash 4, and it lasted roughly 35 minutes. After that, we'll get to a special favorite of mine, Xenoblade Chronicles X. The Direct for this game aired on Friday, April 24th, 2015, and it was actually only 8 minutes long. But Xenoblade Chronicles X would receive separate survival guide videos posted on the official Nintendo YouTube channel that were also around 8 minutes each, regularly up until about a week before the game actually launched on Friday, December 4th, 2015. The gap between the game and the Direct's launch was 7 months and 10 days, but the survival guide videos contained a ton of information that probably would have been in a Direct, but due to the sheer size of the game, they were probably split into smaller versions for ease of consumption and to make marketing easier and more consistent for the game. Following that, we sort of returned to normal with Splatoon. The Splatoon 1 Direct aired on Thursday, May 7th, 2015 and lasted for 33 minutes. The game itself released on Friday, May 29th, 2015, and the amount of time between the Direct and the launch of Splatoon is just 22 days, or around 3 weeks. That's the shortest gap we've seen so far, so go Splatoon 1. After Splatoon 1 is once again another Smash 4 Direct, but this time it was called the Final Video Presentation on Tuesday, December 15th, 2015, and it lasted for around 33 minutes. This one is a little weird as it released after the game launched, so I won't be using it for any calculations other than the day that it was released, but I thought it was worth mentioning at the very least. Next one up is another one that doesn't really matter to our cause that much since no actual game released because of it, and that is the Animal Crossing New Leaf Direct. Animal Crossing got its first Direct mainly centered on New Leaf, specifically new amiibo cards and amiibo functionality on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2016 for roughly 16 minutes. Like I said, no game was released after this, just amiibo cards, but again, I thought it was worth mentioning as we will see Animal Crossing again. Next up is Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem got its first and to date only series-specific direct on Wednesday, January 18th, 2017 for about 19 minutes total. This direct actually announced a few different Fire Emblem games: Shadows of Valentia, a new unnamed Fire Emblem game which would eventually become Three Houses, Fire Emblem Warriors, and the mobile game Fire Emblem Heroes. Shadows of Valentia eventually released on Friday, May 19th, 2017. Three Houses actually eventually released on Friday, July 26, 2019. Fire Emblem Warriors released on Friday, October 20th, 2017. And Fire Emblem Heroes released on Thursday, February 2nd, 2017. The gap between each game is as follows: 15 days or just over 2 weeks for Fire Emblem Heroes, 4 months and 1 day for Shadows of Valentia, 9 months and 2 days for Fire Emblem Warriors, and 2 years, 6 months and 8 days for Fire Emblem Three Houses. Three Houses was also eventually featured in another Nintendo Direct, but not a Fire Emblem specific one. Obviously, it was unnamed and still in development at the time of this Direct, so I will not be using it for my prediction later on. Next up is ARMS, which had its Direct aired on Wednesday, May 17th, 2017 for nearly 23 minutes. The game itself released on Friday, June 16th, 2017, and the gap for this was just 1 month or 30 days. After that, we get another great Direct in Splatoon 2, which premiered its Direct on Thursday, July 6, 2017, and lasted for almost 27 minutes. The game released on Friday, July 21st, 2017, and the gap for Splatoon 2, like its predecessor Splatoon 1, is also pretty small, just 15 days or a little more than 2 weeks, the smallest gap we've seen yet. After Splatoon 2, we get a first for Nintendo, a mobile game-focused Direct. This time, it's Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. This Direct aired on Tuesday, October 24th, 2017 for about 14 minutes. The game was released on Tuesday, November 21st, 2017, and the gap between the Direct and the release date was about 28 days or around 4 weeks. Following Pocket Camp, though, we're back to console games with another favorite of mine, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This Direct aired on Tuesday, November 7th, 2017 for around 16 minutes, followed by some Nintendo Treehouse gameplay. The game itself released on Friday, December 1st, 2017, and the gap for Xenoblade 2 was just 24 days or a little bit over 3 weeks. Now we're back to mobile games, this time with Dragalia Lost. The Dragalia Lost Direct aired on Wednesday, August 29, 2018 for almost 14 minutes. The game subsequently launched Thursday, September 27, 2018, and the amount of time between the Direct and the launch of Dragalia Lost is 29 days, or once again, around 4 weeks. Another big-time game had a Direct after Dragalia Lost, back to consoles, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, getting its own Direct on Thursday, November 1st, 2018, for nearly 41 minutes. This game didn't release until Friday, December 7th, 2018, but players only had to wait about a month and 6 days, or around 5 weeks for it. After Smash Ultimate, we're back to a familiar face, Pokemon. Now, this Direct was just an announcement for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it premiered on Wednesday, February 27, 2019, and only lasted for 7 minutes. However, since this is just an announcement and the games actually received a more complete Direct of their own later on, I'm going to use that one for the gap calculation, but I'll still use this one for its dates. After Pokemon, though, we settle into a phase that surprisingly we haven't seen so far, and that's Mario. Super Mario Maker 2 got its own Direct on Wednesday, May 15th, 2015 for a little bit less than 18 minutes. The game then subsequently released on Friday, June 28th, 2019. Players only had to wait about a month and 13 days, or around 6 weeks, for Mario Maker 2 after seeing the Direct. Now we get to the Pokemon Sword and Shield specific Direct. Pokemon Sword and Shield eventually became relatively polarizing games, but they did get their own Direct before that, actually showcasing the games themselves on Wednesday, June 5th, 2019, which lasted for almost 17 minutes. The game released on Friday, November 15th, 2019, and fans had to wait 5 months and 10 days between this Direct and the game's actual release. Back again is Animal Crossing, but this time it's a return to consoles with the beloved Animal Crossing New Horizons. This Direct was right before the COVID-19 pandemic really ramped up and took place on Thursday, February 20th, 2020, and lasted for 28 minutes. The game itself was then released a month later, Friday, March 20th, 2020, so fans only had to wait 29 days or around 4 weeks for this game after the Direct. After a decent delay due to COVID, another kind of weird Direct took place, and we're back with Mario. The Super Mario 35th Anniversary Direct took place on Thursday, September 3rd, 2020, for around 16 minutes. This Direct, like the Fire Emblem Direct, also featured several game announcements. The games included in this were Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, and Super Mario 3D All-Stars. The games released in this order, with 3D All-Stars on Friday, September 18th, 2020, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit on Friday, October 16th, 2020, and then Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury on Friday, February 12th, 2021. The gap between each game was as follows: 15 days or just over 2 weeks for 3D All-Stars, 1 month and 13 days or around 6 weeks for Mario Kart Home Circuit, and about 5 months and 9 days for Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. After that is yet another unique Direct, which detailed the Animal Crossing New Horizons update. This Direct aired on Friday, October 15th, 2021, and lasted for around 23 minutes. The Direct detailed the contents of the last free content update, Update 2.0, and also an announcement and release of a paid DLC, Happy Home Paradise, and as well as some release of some more amiibo cards. The update itself got released on Wednesday, November 3rd, with the DLC releasing just 2 days later on Friday, November 5th, 2021. The gap between these two releases was 19 days for the update and 21 days for the DLC, or around 3 weeks. The final game-specific Direct as of the release of this video is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, another personal favorite of mine. This Direct aired on Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022, and lasted for around 24 minutes. The game will release, or depending on when you're viewing this, already has, on Friday, July 29th, 2022. The gap between this Direct and the release is 1 month and 7 days, or around 5 weeks. So, that's every game/series specific Direct that Nintendo has done over the last 10 years. Aside from Smash 4, Animal Crossing, and Pokemon, every other Direct specific to a singular game has had just one Direct. So let's look at the data we've collected, including the date and time the Directs took place, along with the gap between the Direct and the release date of said game, to see if we can find some sort of pattern. Now, some of these Directs seem like special cases, so I'm omitting some specific stats of each Direct, and I'll explain why. Mainly, most of them are either because they're outliers or they don't really contain relevant data. Smash 4 is being omitted because it has 3 different Directs, so choosing one or all 3 doesn't really make sense since most other games only have one. However, I will include their average length in the days of the week into my calculations. The Animal Crossing New Leaf Direct is being omitted because it isn't relevant since no game release, but I will include its duration. The first Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct because it's an outlier in terms of its time, and the second makes much more sense to use as it actually showed what most game-specific Directs show in terms of content and gameplay, but I will include this one for its day of the week. Xenoblade Chronicles X is also omitted because it is an outlier, being so far out from its release, but being supplemented with additional videos up until release. I will still include it for the day of the week, both for its Direct and its release date. Fire Emblem Three Houses will not be used for gap data, but it will be used for its day of the week in its release. So, in total, we have 26 Directs to choose from, and a total of 28 games / an update and DLC, with varying data contributing for each. Now we get to the disclaimer. These are all rough statistics. I am not a statistician. I do not have an advanced degree in statistics, so do not come for me if some of these seem off. Okay, Directs seemingly most often happen on a Wednesday, with 11 out of the 26 that we looked at, or around 42% of them, taking place on Hump Day. The next most common is Thursday at about 7 out of 26, or 27%. Then Tuesdays at 4 out of 26, or 15%. Followed by Fridays at 3 out of 26, or 12%. And finally, Mondays at 1 out of 26, or 4%. So, naturally, we can say that a direct is more likely to take place in the middle of a week between Tuesday and Thursday, having been a total of 22 out of the 26, or 85% of all Nintendo Direct game-specific directs taking place between Tuesday and Thursday. Next up is the average duration. Excluding Xenoblade X in the initial Sword and Shield reveal trailer, which are the lowest by far at 8 and 7 minutes respectively, the average is roughly around 23 minutes, with the longest being Super Smash Bros. Ultimates at around 41 minutes. After that, we get to game release day. Keep in mind these are all based on the North American release dates. Now, by far, the most popular release date for these games is Friday, with 22 out of 28 possible games / the update and DLC for a share of 79%. Next, after that, is Thursday at just 2 out of 28, or 7%, and then a 4-way tie between Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, all at 1 out of 28, or 4% each. We already know that Splatoon 3 is releasing on a Friday, so no surprise there. And in the future, if you really like a game and it's made by Nintendo and it has a game-specific direct, you can kind of anticipate that it's probably going to come out on a Friday, which is actually kind of nice because you get the weekend to enjoy it. Anyway, finally, we have the big one, which is the gap between the direct and the actual release date of the game. I am omitting Smash 4, Xenoblade X, Fire Emblem Three Houses, and Fire Emblem Warriors from this calculation, as they are all relatively large outliers here. So excluding those, the average gap between the direct and the release date of a game is around 45 days, based on the remaining 24 games that we have after our exclusions. Now, even looking at those 24 games, we still have 3 outliers. And if we remove those 3 outliers, Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, the average actually drops down to 32 days based on those 21 games. So, where does all of this leave us? Well, the planned release of this video is either July 28th or July 29th. So that would be between 44 to 45 days until Splatoon 3 launches. Well, our initial gap calculation says that 45 days is the typical gap. And I doubt Nintendo is going to release a Splatoon 3 Direct right next to or on the launch day of Xenoblade 3, considering it's a large title for them. So let's actually use the 32-day calculation. 32 days prior to Splatoon 3's launch on September 9th is Monday, August 8th. Now, as we saw, the most common direct days are Wednesday, then Thursday, and then Tuesday. If you combine those 3, 85% of game-specific directs fall on those 3 days. Another wrinkle to this, however, is if we just look at Splatoon as a series. Splatoon 1 had a gap of just 22 days, and Splatoon 2 had an even smaller gap at 15 days between its direct and its release date. So putting all of this information together, my prediction is that Splatoon 3 will have a direct, and it will be on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. This would put the direct at 23 days before the launch of Splatoon 3 on the most common day for game-specific directs. Now, I could be off by a day. Maybe it'll be Tuesday the 16th. Maybe it'll be Thursday the 18th. But given the data we collected, I'm pretty confident in this pick. Another reason I'm pretty confident is my prediction for a Splatoon 3 test fire, which I'm not going to spoil, but I will link in the description below. I use similar methods in that video to come up with a date. So if you like this video, you'll probably like that one. Whew. That was a lot, but I hope you learned something or at least enjoyed this one. It was a lot of work and research, but it was fun to look back at all these directs. If you like this video, please obliterate that like button and demolish subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I'm going to be producing everything from full game walkthroughs to lore explanations to gameplay and more for Splatoon 3, so I hope you'll look forward to all of that. If you stuck around to the end, thank you so much, and as always, I'm Jext. Have a good one.